The 1970s were a great time to listen to R&B radio. As a listener, you got a little bit of everything when you tuned in. One minute, you'd hear a commercial about the latest Blaxploitation movie that was out, like The Human Tornado starring Dolomite, or a mainstream movie like The Exorcist. For commercials, you got to hear about the great qualities of drinks like MD 2020, Magnum Malt Liquor, taking the M train, and Red Rooster 21. Or you might hear a jingle for your favorite soft drink like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, or even your favorite fast food restaurant like McDonald's or Burger King. Seemingly everybody had jingles back then. Even the telephone company had a jingle. Reach out and touch someone. There were other commercials for local black hair care supply stores, and this was even before you got to the music. Even though a radio station may have been called an R&B station, they also play jazz music, and additionally, they play R&B instrumentals or songs that were mostly instrumental with very few lyrics. Sometimes, if a song was really good or really popular, the radio station would play it twice in a row. At night, on some stations, they play an artist's entire album. Contrast all of what I just said with the way radio stations are in 2025. Everything now is focused on playing what stations consider the top hits at least twice every hour. There's absolutely no way that they would ever play the same song 2 times in a row. And they certainly wouldn't consider playing one album from one artist. No way. With 1970s R&B radio stations formats in mind, here are 10 of the best jazz and instrumental songs from that time that would never be played on the R&B radio station today. Billy Preston was a singer, songwriter, and keyboardist. He was born September 2nd, 1946 in Houston, Texas. In 1963, while he was still in high school, Preston was only 16 when he released his debut album titled, appropriately enough, 16-Year-Old Soul. Later, after playing in bands with artists such as Andre Crouch, Little Richard, Sam Cooke, Ray Charles, and the Beatles, Preston released the album I Wrote a Simple Song in November of 1971. From that album, the song Out of Space was released as the B-side to I Wrote a Simple Song. However, DJs started flipping the single and playing Out of Space instead, which made the song a hit. Out of Space went number 1 R&B and number 2 pop. The Love Unlimited Orchestra was founded by R&B singer Barry White. Initially, they backed both White himself and his female trio Love Unlimited. Eventually, the orchestra released their own material. To that end, their single, Love's Theme, was released in November of 1973. The song was a worldwide hit while going number 1 on the pop charts and number 10 R&B. For a while, the song was featured on intros on professional golf telecasts. The Commodores are an R&B group who formed when they met each other in college at Tuskegee Institute. The group had a hit on their hands with their very first song off their debut album Machine Gun, which was released in 1974. The song, which was also titled Machine Gun, was an instrumental that hit number 7 on the R&B charts and number 22 on the pop charts. Kool and the Gang is an R&B group that was co-founded by Robert Kool Bell, among others. The group released their debut album, titled Kool and the Gang, in 1969. 5 years later, they released their album, Light of Worlds, in 1974. The album went gold and contained the instrumental masterpiece, Summer Madness. Released as a single in 1975, Madness has become one of the most used and sampled songs in music history. Grover Washington Jr. was a jazz saxophonist. He was born December 12, 1943 in Buffalo, New York. Grover's dad, Grover Sr., played the saxophone and gave young Grover his first saxophone. After releasing his solo debut, Inner City, in 1971, Washington later released Mr. Magic in 1975. The album contained only 4 songs, with one being the title song. Released as a single, Mr. Magic hit number 16 on the R&B charts and has been instantly recognizable ever since. We're going to take a time out from our story to ask you to like, subscribe, share, comment, hit that notification bell, and repeat when it comes to our videos. Now, back to our story. The group Rhythm Heritage broke through in 1975 with a single, Theme from SWAT. The song also served as the opening theme song for the 1970s television show SWAT, while also hitting number 1 on the pop charts. Van McCoy was a producer, songwriter, and singer. He was born on January 6, 1940 in Washington, D.C. He released his debut album, Nighttime is Lonely Time, in 1966. 9 years later, he released the album Disco Baby in 1975. The single, The Hustle, was the breakout song from the album. A disco cut, Hustle went number 1 on both the R&B and pop charts. Since then, the song has been included on numerous disco compilation albums and has also been featured on various TV shows and movies. George Benson is a jazz guitarist, singer, and songwriter. Born on March 22, 1943 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Benson began playing a musical instrument when he was only 7. Since his hands were too small to play a guitar, he first learned to play the ukulele. Releasing his debut album, The New Boss Guitar of George Benson in 1964, Benson would go on to release the album Breezin' in 1976. However, the single Breezin' wasn't released until 1977. The album is one of the best-selling jazz albums of all time, as it went number 1 on the R&B, pop, and jazz charts while going triple platinum. The single was popular as well and has become a jazz standard. Ronnie Laws is a saxophonist and singer whose music is a mixture of both jazz and R&B. He's the younger brother of jazz flutist Hubert Laws and jazz vocalist Eloise Laws, while also being the older brother of singer Deborah Laws. After growing up in Houston, Texas, Laws moved to Los Angeles, where he got a chance to play with Hugh Masekela. A little later, he joined Earth, Wind & Fire, playing sax and the flute on their 1972 album Last Days in Time. After a while, Laws decided to go solo. After he released 2 albums, his third album, Friends and Strangers, was released in 1977. The title song was a staple of R&B radio at the time, as the album went gold. While the song technically had lyrics, the lyrics only served as the bridge. The rest of the song was Laws performing on a mixture of the sax and the flute. Chuck Mangione was a flugelhorn player, trumpeter, and composer. Born in Rochester, New York on November 29, 1940, he began taking piano lessons when he was 8 and trumpet lessons at age 10. Originally recording with the group The Jazz Brothers, Chuck made his solo debut in 1962. He released his album Feel So Good in December of 1977, and the album included the title song, which was released as a single in February of 1978. The song almost immediately became a hit, reaching number 4 on the pop charts. Feel So Good often received airplay on R&B radio as well, and was included on station playlists right next to then current hits like Flashlight by Parliament, You and I by Rick James, and I'm Every Woman by Shaka Khan. Herb Alpert is a trumpeter, pianist, singer, and songwriter. Alpert was born March 31, 1935 in Los Angeles, California. He began playing the trumpet when he was in elementary school. He released his debut album with the band Tijuana Brass, The Lonely Bull, in 1962. Alpert's music was so popular that in 1966, he and his group simultaneously had 5 albums in the top 20. Later, the song Rise was released as a single in 1979. Initially, the song didn't have an album to go with it. However, Rise blew up as DJs working in clubs began playing it. The song went number 1 and sent Alpert looking to put together an entire album to fully take advantage of the single's success. For those of you who aren't familiar with how the song sounds, it was sampled on the Notorious Big's song, Hypnotize. These songs are just an example of the greatness that existed on R&B radio in the 1970s. It's a shame that radio listeners today don't get to experience the depth, the richness that was R&B radio in the 1970s. What do you think of the songs that we talked about in this video? Do you remember them? Are any of these your favorites? Did you enjoy listening to R&B radio in the 1970s? Why do you think these types of songs aren't played on the radio today? Let us know in the comments. Thank you all for checking out our video. We appreciate you spending time with us. We appreciate each and every one of you. We're always coming out with new content, always trying to find different angles to keep you interested. So be sure and come back and check us out. We also have some other videos that have already been done and get some pretty good feedback. So don't miss out. Go see what's going on with those. Then come back and check out our newest material the next time we put something out. Thanks again and see you soon.